question or you have a comment, please say your name, speak as loudly as possible, so that people on Zoom can hear you, and vice versa. I think we have help with the two members of GCM to kind of communicate things that we're missing. So if you have anything, just try your best to raise your hand in Zoom, or say that you have a comment to make or a question. Let's try to keep to that, just to keep it organized. Otherwise, it can be a little messy having two meetings kind of at the same time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Thanks everybody who came in person as well. Appreciate it. Obviously, 2020 was a very challenging year for everyone, just on multiple different levels. So it's nice to kind of go over the things that happened and different things that were done in the community, because there was a lot of progress that was done within the community this year. So I'm Megan again. If y'all know me, I'm Megan again. If y'all don't know me on Zoom. And then Chad Paramore is treasurer, and Deb Ross is VP secretary for the board. So we have a sheet that the people here have that we'll email out or share with the people on Zoom at some point, but I'm just going over highlights for the year. We'll do a financial overview, things that were repaired or any budget deviations, positive budget variances, change in vendors, which was just one, social community issues, and then maybe some things for 2021 that the future board might look into. After that, we'll do, open questions, comments, try to keep anybody's comments to a minute, just so we can kind of move quickly, and then we'll go ahead and do the vote after that. So with that, I'm going to begin. Financial overview for, the meeting's being recorded as well, so that everything's recorded for our records. Financial overview. So we ended 2020 with $33,658 in the bank. That includes approximately $5,500 in prepaid dues, relatively the same as what we were at last year, if you remember the meeting from last year. We do have 10 remaining delinquencies. Of those, 4 are on payment plans, which is great. So that's still considered on time. They're not getting late fees for that as long as they set up a payment plan. And of the remaining 6, only 1 is over $1,000. I think that was a huge thing that happened, that we finally got the big ones off the plate, and we just have a few little ones here and there. So that's really a job well done from the financial standpoint. Legal expenses were incurred this year that were for delinquencies, kind of getting back to these delinquencies. Some of these were charged back to the homeowners where possible. Legal guidance was given through a court case, and preparation for a court case that was done this past year to a previous board member. So we needed to use some legal money for that and preparation for that. Also, we had to fix some paperwork for the retention pond. That was not done correctly way back in 1996. So that is something that we're working with the county on right now, and there had to be a little bit of legal input there. So that's the majority of where the legal fees went this year. All the financials are up on the community website for this past year. So if you want to reference that, everybody in person should have a copy as well. Those were handed out. Repairs and upgrades that happened this year. The pergola was added to the pool. We talked about this last year, but it physically happened this year. The pool house and fence pool columns were pressure washed and painted. That was only $930, which was the pressure washing expense of, I think, $450. And then literally the cost of paint, because volunteers did the rest of the work. When it came to that, it would have been quite expensive to hire someone to do that. And I think we had a very good group of volunteers that did that this year, over multiple days and weekends. And I think it looks great. The women's restroom was also painted and refreshed. We actually didn't use any community money for that. We sold some old umbrellas on Facebook Marketplace and used that to, buy a mirror for the restroom and a curtain kind of thing. So some old, not usable umbrellas, evidently people will buy. And that's what we did with that. One pool motor did break right at the beginning of the season. It was replaced for $650. The front sign was painted by our grounds committee, which is Joanne and Ken Polson. They used the paint from the pool house, so it kind of all ties in, and did it themselves, so the cost was essentially free. 28 trees, this is a big one, 28 trees were removed from the pool area, which were uprooting and falling. I think at least three had already fallen, and some were uprooting at the point that we decided to, go ahead and get rid of all of them. Timing overall was really great. The hurricane came just a few months after that, and those trees could have been close to people's houses at that point. They would have fallen. They were in really bad shape. So we kind of capitalized on the idea that tree companies literally had everybody cancel at the same time. This was right at the start of COVID. And they gave us a discount for booking quickly and doing a COVID discount, I guess. They needed one. So it was $6,000 for 28 trees, which is an outstanding deal.
Also impacting the pool area.
Yeah.
So we've all talked about the pool, how it's going to be an impact, getting rid of the trees. It was an outstanding, amazing deal for each way.
Yeah. Finally, a permanent fence to the front left light. This was an over 2-year extravaganza. Multiple electricians came out and gave outrageous ideas, or they wouldn't come out at all. So we really were frustrated with this, and Craig Dubois moved into the neighborhood less than a year ago. Lenny had given him my contact info, and he said he, just for the cost of supplies, he fixed it for us. So $78 versus the quotes that we'd have over the years that were upward of 2,000.
$4,000.
Yeah, it was big. So it was a really great thing that he was able to help the community out. Signage for COVID was something random that we had to do. We just had to put up all these signs. Positive budget variations. So there were no maintenance issues this year. We had $3,000 budgeted, but if a toilet leaked or if something happened, we just went ahead and fixed it ourselves instead of calling on the maintenance to do it. There wasn't anything major though, so it was all fixable by us. So that was a $3,000 positive budget variance. The pool furniture, we had budgeted $800, but obviously we didn't even use any pool furniture this year, so there was no need for that. So that was a savings. There was no tennis court maintenance this year either. Not saying it's always in the budget in case something comes up, but there was no need to tap into that this year. And obviously no social events. Every social thing that we would have done got canceled because of COVID and the ongoing pandemic. So those are a few positive variations or deviations to the budget that happened this year that I wanted to point out. One change in vendor that actually isn't going into effect till March. We did decide to change landscape companies. Greenwood, I think, had just run its course with us and was not being very responsive or very reactive to our needs. We also got a $55 a month savings with another company. There were actually multiple quotes, some cheaper than the one we chose, but we went with Autumn Landscaping Company, and they'll begin in March. Social community information. Obviously, everything was canceled because of the pandemic. The food trucks were a big thing that I put a lot of time and effort into, and so did a few other people in the neighborhood to really help organize and plan for 10 weeks throughout the kind of beginning of this pandemic and into the summer. I really think people appreciated it, and it was kind of fun, something fun to look forward to every week. We did do Christmas luminaries. The participation was questionable, but and the weather was awful, and that just seems to kind of happen when I plan things. So the Christmas luminaries, we did go ahead and get the sturdy plastic for the neighborhood, so that the common areas, so that the years to come, it's in the storage unit. We don't have to use bags for those areas. We don't have to do milk jugs either. That's in there, and that's ready to go for Christmas luminaries in the future. Grounds committee, like I mentioned, Joanne and Ken Polson, they've been awesome this year. They instructed Greenwood to the best of their abilities for landscape installs. Greenwood didn't necessarily listen every time, hence a vendor change. But they also decorated for Christmas, and they were the ones that painted the entrance sign. And so that was really awesome. So thank you to Ken and Joanne. I think y'all are on there, so thank you. Welcome committee also, Laura Kokenauer and Kristen Allen. I know you guys were very on top of it when anybody moved into the meeting or moved into the neighborhood, and welcomed them pretty much immediately. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Upcoming project for 2021. I mean, there's not a ton of big things that are on there. The key system is something we talked about for years and years and years. At the pool, potentially that could be something the next board would look into, possibly doing a keypad. Key fobs are very expensive. We got quotes on all of them, but it's something that could potentially be looked into. We will be finalizing the detention pond documents with Cobb, and that will be executed in this coming year, where Cobb will take over the maintenance of the detention pond. Is the basics there. Also understanding any 2021 pool guidelines and regulations. We have no idea what that's going to be. As of right now, you can go ahead and assume that it'll be the same as last year as far as the regulations go. I don't know if it's going to be any different, and I don't think anybody else does. So I'll kind of leave that to the next board to figure out what they want to do with that. But that's really anything on the horizon that needs to happen. So that's the summary. I want to be able to take questions on both Zoom and meeting. I don't know if we had any on Zoom.
Let's see. We do have a couple of questions.
The board did get kudos for the food trucks and the Musk Ministries charity.
Oh, yeah, the Musk Ministries charity. That was a good one that Teresa did. And I think actually the bins are still down there because they couldn't pick up until Friday. So if y'all want to put anything in there, I don't think they're picked up yet.
All right, we do have one question. So far, it was what was the lawsuit for which legal fees were spent for preparation?
Okay, so the lawsuit was Kathy Scott, a homeowner in the neighborhood, sued Desiree Ellsworth, who was a previous board member, for her for things that had happened when she was on the board. I have a copy of the lawsuit here. It's public record. You can look it up. It went to court in our favor. So that is the end of that.
All right, let's see if there's anything. Someone asked which attorney is handling the finalization of the detention pond issues.
So our same attorney is doing that, working with Cobb. But also a lot of that, Georgia Community Management has been able to do a lot of that. It really was just to get a survey done, to get with the proper people in Cobb, have all the records. Thank goodness we had people that kept the records from back then, and were able to really get with the right people. It's just with COVID, it's taken a little bit longer to get it finalized.
Okay. The next question said, is there any plans to address water leaking from under Crestmont Way?
Okay, so that's the DOT. That is a DOT issue. It's right in front of my house. You guys know. I look at it every day. We call it Crestmont Falls at this point. I've contacted the DOT many times. Unfortunately, it's not an HOA issue because it is the actual road. I know that Ree's here too. You guys have contacted. It's in front of her house as well. So we look at everything. It's a water drainage issue, and Cobb DOT hasn't wrapped their head around the fact that they need to literally repave that whole area. There's cracks from the top of the hill all the way down to Mountainside. Essentially, it's a big issue. So I will personally continue to contact the DOT. I think the more people that do, the more reactive they're going to be. So I know Reba and Michael have contacted them, yeah. So I think we have to just continue pushing them on that one. It was a big thing. They actually tore up Reba and Michael's yard thinking it was a water leak, like from water, someone's water pipes. It wasn't, and we kind of all knew that. And it's literally a drainage issue. They tore up everybody's yards, mainly Reba and Michael's. They said, okay, it's not a water, that was the Cobb County Water actually did that. Then they moved it to Cobb DOT because they said, okay, it's your problem. And then they repaved a tiny little portion of street. And that was their fix for the moment. And your yard. I mean, and, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not a road near. I don't know exactly what the fix is, but I know every single crack that's on that road, the water is gonna come up. So, I'll personally continue to work on that though, whoever asks.
Someone asked about the water issue on the hill. Is that the same?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay,
the
okay.
Pissmont way.
Gotcha.
Maybe put contact information on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook page, so everybody gets it.
You know what,
Okay.
yeah.
They're asking to repeat questions for Zoomers.
Okay.
They said they can't hear questions in the clubhouse.
Okay, there was no questions.
Okay.
We were just commenting still on the hill. Reba is here, and she lives across from me, and is also sees the water issue, and she was saying that they essentially haven't fixed the problem. So there hasn't been any questions from the floor yet. When they do, I will repeat them. Yeah, let's see. So Lenny asked if it's very icy. Yes, it does get icy. It does get icy, and when it ices, it cracks more. Yeah.
The kids have to walk down
All right,
the hill, get the bus. So maybe that's the things that we could say.
Yes, kids do have to walk down the hill to get to the bus in the morning, so that could be a talking point that we maybe push the DOT.
So we've got a couple comments. Thank you to the board. Awesome job, and thank you for your efforts. Very much appreciated. Someone else said, thank you so much to the outgoing board. You guys did a great job, made the neighborhood a great community. Someone asked to repeat who's in favor. Was the lawsuit finalized? The audio broke up.
That was in favor of Desiree.
Okay. Someone asked what is happening with the maintenance of the property that was involved in the land deal. The trees are falling down.
Okay, so that's actually something we've reached out to Greenwood on, to try to, it's the one tree when you come in on the right, I believe is what they're talking about. They can confirm.
Yeah.
And they weren't very actionable on that. So I think that'd be something pretty quickly that, could possibly be taken care of with the next group.
Someone asked, is it a recent policy with Cobb County to do maintenance on a natural detention pond like ours?
No. Okay, so I don't know about the policies on detention ponds. Hey, Michael. Pause for a second. They should have maintained the ownership and maintenance on it. If anything happens, my understanding, if anything happens and the maintenance and it leaks or it needs, it's not a small fix. If there's a crack in it that needs to be addressed, this is an old one. I mean, it's been since the beginning of the neighborhood. So if any maintenance issues at all happen, it would have to be addressed by us. Whereas they, in the beginning, said that they would take over the maintenance of that detention pond. Now, current neighborhoods, I don't necessarily think that Cobb does that. I don't know if that's the question. Am I getting it wrong? I don't think it's common practice for them to do that. But since we have the agreement and the paperwork saying that this agreement was in place, we need to enforce the fact that they need to be in charge of it.
We don't have liability.
Yeah, because we don't want to deal with the liability.
What we have right now.
Okay. Does anybody on the floor have any questions?
With reaching out to the deal, would that be a good time? Now, that I can look, be in the neighborhood, it's always taking your own hands.
Right.
To go,
Okay.
make some pile on hay,
Yeah.
speed bumps or something to slow the traffic.
Right, okay, so Eddie Hurdy was talking about, since we were talking with the DOT about Crestmont Falls and the leak on Crestmont, would it be a good time to talk to the DOT about turning out of our neighborhood? I know that Jeff Hudson actually talked to them, as well, and their comments, unfortunately, are more like, the more incidences that happen, the more it's on the radar. And they're, I mean, basically car wrecks. And, you know, the more people that are having issues at that intersection, then it becomes on the radar. Since there hasn't been, it's not, unfortunately. I would love it.
Everyone would love it.
I think everybody would love it.
Maybe we get next
Can you repeat what was said?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe, so Lenny's saying more, maybe putting up the speed limit sign that flashes and says how fast you're going. Maybe that's something that, and this would be a community effort. This would not be a board effort per se. So if anybody would want to reach out and, you know, talk to them on that, then do it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of gets into the whole,
That's what I call next about.
yeah.
Because what is it, when you turn off a Frank curve?
Frank curve, yeah.
Think they have one, that's what specifically what I asked, and they just said, until there's an accident.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
That was my exact
So, yeah,
he said,
I don't think that we have the right to do that because it would be across the road from our neighborhood. Yeah,
to the left. If we had something on our side, then you were trying to flash for us, doesn't look like.
Yeah.
Nothing.
it's worth looking into. So Michael Hurt's asking about, you know, potentially having indicators. Cobb DOT has told various people in the community that they won't put anything up unless there's more incidents in the intersection. But he's talking about possibly even on our property, putting an indicator that we get a flashing light on our property. That would be something maybe to look into, but I would definitely start with the DOT, as many neighbors as possible, to contact them. So that'd be a community effort too, yeah. But look into that.
Then I heard about the kids coming out, you know, some people don't like the tank, and then they won't have, so they don't slow down. So they take it out, kind of straight to the car, it doesn't look like, I'm still thinking, something, maybe 50 feet off the road, right next to the car coming.
At the end of our property.
Maybe it's a,
Right,
just first, at least we know, cars, that's not a big sign.
yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe y'all can even look into it, Georgia Community, to see what could be done.
Someone asked, are we going to have an opportunity to interview individuals running for office prior to casting our vote? We'll have them speak.
Yeah, so we're gonna have each individual speak. I'm done with the things that I wanted to talk about for this year. If there's any more questions regarding last year, though, we can still take those. I mean, I think we're good on time.
Yeah, no questions on Zoom. Are there any more questions on the floor?
Safety issue for the last.
No, I covered last year, so we're not, if the next year stuff will be for the next board. So really, we'll vote for the next board. But if there's things that you want to mention,
I think we should have a camera.
security camera. So we did actually look into that at one point. There is, sorry, Michael Hurd was asking about security cameras at the front of the neighborhood. So there's actually a company in Atlanta that does exactly that. And the thing is, they're based on cellular service. The front of our neighborhood has awful cellular service, regardless if you have AT&T or Verizon. I know I drop calls with AT&T, but I know Verizon also struggles. I believe that the cost wasn't outrageous for that type of system, but then it has to be monitored and things like that. So I think it's been over a year since I looked into it. But it was like 5,000 initial, I think was what it was. And then monthly, and then monitoring. There'd have to be a monitoring. But the big issue with that is really the cell service. It goes off cell. Right. But so the ones that are hardwired, those are like tens of thousands of dollars. So it was a significant difference between those. I mean, it's worth looking into, but I think that the option that made the most sense for a neighborhood our size would be that option that went off cellular. That would be less cost prohibitive. But hardwiring, it's a big job. Yeah.
It just to kind of go down that path a little bit more, we also looked at security systems for the pool. Because we had certain individuals that were coming in after hours, and there's a liability, a lot of people doing that. To do it, you've got to run internet to have security cameras. And because we're an HOA, we're a company, internet is extremely expensive for really no reason. You're talking, it was like $250 a month just to run internet there. So we've looked at that option as well too. And that's just the cost benefit of doing things like that.
Because you're not an individual, you're a company, since you're an HOA, so therefore you're a business plan.
Yeah. And that goes back into the phone system that we have to have because we're paying a commercial telephone line, which is like $80 a month. Now we have a cell phone service there. It's just there. It's like, if you've seen it, it's plugged in, but it's off a data plan. That was, I don't know, 90% savings.
Yeah,
huge.
$50 a month.
But just the location, having internet, running it, it's just very costly for the neighborhood to do things like that.
To me, safety is terrible. That thing, our neighbors going to have to be killed. And in terms of safety, the thing is, depending on the things that's going on, we don't need to check and see what's going in. There are certain things, right? You should put safety as a priority.
Yeah.
We got kids. I won't be the HOA.
Yeah. And personally, I think we're in a financial situation with a lot of things that Meghan really spearheaded over the past couple of years, from vendor management, contracts, just finding the pennies that are out there that, there could be some of that in the budget.
Yeah, we had to get in a better financial situation in order to even entertain these things. I think is the big takeaway there. So we're getting there. I don't think we're in a bad financial situation. And with no big projects on the horizon, like the immediate horizon, I mean, I think a big thing would be, let's get a keypad at the pool kind of thing. I mean, that's going to cost some money, but we kind of have this buffer because we've been so good at getting these contracts adjusted, doing things ourselves, getting the delinquencies paid, stuff like that. So Michael, I think that's a good point to have safety as something, maybe as a big thing on the radar for the future. Yeah, go ahead, Lenny.
Any of that money is that for much, will work and pay for next time?
Yeah, so not yet, so,
I know we talked about
yeah.
trying to save $5,000 a year.
Yeah. So Lenny's asking for if any of the money in our reserve is earmarked for any specific projects. The answer to that is not yet. At the beginning of last year, we had contemplated doing a reserve study. And with everything, the pandemic happened, and we just never got it done. So a reserve study was something that I thought we really could, would be beneficial to us, because then it would say, hey, this is the lifetime of this, this is the lifetime of this, this is the lifetime of this. You should put aside this much. Your reserve should be at this. There's companies that do this. I think that could be something that the next board looks into to really kind of have a better financial plan moving forward. Okay. If we're done with questions and comments, I guess the people that are going to be running for the board, are you going to read the bios, or how are we doing this?
I can, I guess, because they are pretty short.
While she's getting that ready, I just want to say for a couple of Zoomers that we have, there's still a few of you that I don't have your first and last name that you're signed into Zoom on, so I cannot properly account for which home you're representing. So please either chat us with what your address is, or please change your name at the top of the screen where the 3 dots are shown to your first and last name, so we know who is representing which home.
There are 3 people here that are running for the board, and 2 people on Zoom, I believe, that are also running for the board. Reva's on as well.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Chad's on as well.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so the nominees that are here tonight, instead of me reading your bio, would you like to either read your bio or just give some extra words, or I don't mind just reading from what was provided before. It's totally up to you. We can start with the first one. Who would like to start? Anybody? No? Okay. Then I will go ahead and do them. For Zoomers, here, I'll stand right here. Okay, so for Zoomers, these bios were also sent out via email. So this is more so for the folks that we do not have an email for. So we have Pat Davis, who is interested in running. She has been a resident for 10 years. She says, I have volunteered with past board members to help with the Christmas luminaries and joined other neighbors to support each other in sickness and in death. I enjoy my neighbors and want to add my efforts to our community. In past years, I have served as a volunteer leader in civic organizations, Goshen Valley Foundation, military support organizations, which is the Operation Homefront, and our church. I hope to support our neighborhood, meet our needs as a good neighbor, and preserve the spirit of the community. I am skilled in Word, WordPress, budget spreadsheets, and planning. I am able to work with various projects at the same time keeping track of reports, scope of work orders, and performance evaluations, and grounds improvements. And again, that came from Ms. Pat Davis. All right, and now I am reading for Michael Hurd. He's interested in running. He said, "Dear neighbors, my family moved here in 2010, and I served on the board as a social chair for several years. During my tenure as the social chair, we had numerous fun-filled events, celebrations, and engaged the community. There was high participation from our residents and their families during these celebrations. We served good food and beverages and provided snow cones, cotton candy, good music, artists that drew caricatures of our residents, and the list goes on. Things are different now. We have quite a few new homeowners. Our national and local communities are experiencing and working through some difficult times, financially, socially, politically, environmentally, and physically. Yet, considering all of these things, the community must be maintained to standards, remain safe, and managed in a fair, consistent, honest, unbiased, and legal manner. I must admit that I have not been very active in the past few years. This had nothing to do with our leadership, but like many of you, new job, children going to and graduating from college, and the challenges of everyday life. We need to work together despite our differences. I would love to throw my hat in the ring for the position of president of the HOA. I do this not out of any personal desire to become a power grabber, out of vindictiveness for an economic gain, I'm sorry, this mask, self-aggrandizement or promotion, or malice towards any of our residents. My primary motivations and desires are to bring a higher sense of community, safety, and engagement for the betterment of our community. Like many of you, I have a sense of honesty, fairness, decency, trustworthiness, unbiasedness, and flexibility with the confines of our rules and regulations. I do not confess to know it all, and believe me, I will solicit assistance, guidance, input always. If elected after a year, if most of you feel I need to step aside, I will do so graciously. My priorities for the neighborhood are safety, cleanliness, financial stability, reasonableness, fairness, and conformity. This is not to suggest other things are not important, but as your HOA president, I will institute the will of the people in a fair and transparent manner. I end with a quote by Sean Higgins that states, "Every day the clock resets. Your wins do not matter. Your failures do not matter. Do not stress on what was. Fight for what could be." And again, that was from Michael Hurd.
And Michael's here, present today.
Because I know it's hard.
It's okay. Those are the things you do. If there's somebody you really want, I'm going to help. Sit up beside and then work that.
Do you want to repeat what he just said for the Zoomers?
I like your bio.
And then just for those who may not have heard him, he was just reiterating, just how he would, love to join and, if anybody else would like to step up and partnerize and stuff with him, then, he is here to help. Okay, so this is from Katie Egon.
I think she's on Zoom. Do you want me to try and unmute her?
Okay, then if that's a Zoom, let's pull it up, because then I have...
Jimmy and Peter.
Okay. All right, sorry, Katie, but I'm going to hold off just in case you want to yourself. So let me go ahead and proceed with the ones who are present. Okay, so this is from James Martin. I have been a resident of Walker's Ridge North since 2009, and I live with my wife and 2 kids. Our kids are mostly grown up as my daughter, 19, is off at college attending FAU, and my son, 15, is now a freshman at Kennesaw Mountain High School. My wife served as the Walker's Ridge North Board President for 2 years during 2011 and 2012. I bring with me great leadership qualities, listening skills, and will strive to do what is best for the overall neighborhood. I look forward to having the opportunity to help serve our community. And again, that was from James Martin.
Peter.
I'm sorry. Just zero now. Okay. Sorry, I had to clarify to make sure I was pronouncing this correctly. This is from Peter Jazeranak. Excuse me. Okay, so my name is Peter. I am submitting my name as a candidate for a spot on the Walker's Ridge North HOA board. I have served the board for a couple years in the past and hoping to serve again as my family and I want to keep the neighborhood running smoothly, drama-free, and preserve all the hard work the previous board has established. My family includes myself, my wife, my son 15, and my daughter 12. We have lived on Braxton Court for nearly 8 years. I have served the community in different roles, including the advisory board for the Kennesaw Business Association, Northeast Cobb Business Association, the Northwest Family YMCA, and am a proud past president of the Rotary Club of North Cobb, of which I have been a member for almost 13 years. And again, that came from Peter Jazeranak. Okay, so
do you want me to unmute Katie and see if maybe she wants to speak?
yes, okay, and then if Pat is on there too, I do apologize for taking over her.
Okay, Katie, I've asked you to unmute if you'd like to say a few words. I think everybody here can hear you pretty well. You can go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, so I'll be the odd man out and read my own. Okay. Hi, neighbors. Hello, neighbors. It starts. I would like to offer my name. You all can hear me, I hope.
Can you guys hear me? Yes, everyone can hear you.
Okay. I would like to offer my name as candidate for secretary of the WRN Board of Directors. My family and I have lived in Walker's Ridge North since about 2004. Our 3 sons are nearly grown, even having flown the nest until the pandemic brought everyone back home again. I didn't add, we got a bonus kid back too, so we now have 4 young adults, plus my husband and me. Now it feels like the right time for me to do my part for our community, as so many before me have these past many years. Strengths I bring to the table include my organizational abilities, communication skills, and the desire to weigh varied perspectives to achieve fairness and consistency within the community. If elected, I pledge to execute my duties in a mindful and open manner. I will strive to balance efficiency with thoroughness, working in the best interest of the homeowners to vitalize our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So I think.
See if Pat, I don't know if Pat wants
Oh,
to say.
yes, Pat.
Pat's
Hang on, let me find you, Pat, here, and then I will unmute you if you'd also like to speak. All right, I've just asked you to unmute, Pat. All right, you're live. You're live.
Oh boy, I'm live. Hi, just, gosh, what do I say? I said it all in my bio. Some of you know I've been sick for a while, and now I'm healthy and ready to get back involved in the community again. I've had to put that on a side burner to take care of life issues, and be happy to serve, happy to participate in the community and keep it going as a great place to live.
Great. Well, thank you, Pat. We appreciate it. All right, let me put you back on mute here. We've got a couple chat. We can check those out. Okay, let me see. Someone asked, let's see, Peter, you're here. Oh, yes, okay. How many times have you been on our board? What did you accomplish when you were on the board? Would you like to answer that? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I was on the board 2 years.
He says he was on the board 2 years.
And I was the treasurer both years. So I was really tasked with making sure that we stayed in the black, and really what I strive to do
He said he thought it was important that to make sure that it stayed in the black, that it stayed good financially. All right. I think that's got here.
Now, another thing to consider that I want to mention, I don't know if the video's on me. The ACC, we've been running with 3 people on the ACC committee, but we can have up to 5. I know that a few people have submitted their names in. It really doesn't work well with 4 because it's, you know, a vote. If it's 2 and 2, then you're kind of in a situation. But a few people, I think, have put their names in to be on the ACC as well. We're still waiting to hear back if all current members want to be on the ACC. The ACC committee is one that the board typically would sign, but basically we just take the volunteers if the position is open. But I think there's enough to add 2 more to it because people are interested. So I know Ed Bush, I believe, had put his name in for ACC. So that's been received. I think once we do the vote for the board, then the ACC can be figured out after that. But I really appreciate, you know, different people stepping up for that position as well.
Okay, so there was another question. I think maybe we can answer this question. One of them says, do you feel it's appropriate for our board to have total control of the annual budget with or without homeowners' input? So I think that's a question that I can.
You can answer. I can put in comments if you want to. So
okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So do you want to take it? Okay. So the annual budget per the documents of Walker's Ridge North is created by and approved by the board, correct? Mm-hmm. Am I speaking correctly? So that's not necessarily a question for candidates as much as it is just what the current documents state for Walker's Ridge North.
And that's how it's been done since the creation of the board. There's never been anybody, any vote out to the community to say, do you approve the budget? Wrong or right, that's what we've always done. The board's always created the budget, and it's always sent out to the community.
Okay.
So you vote for the people on the board, and therefore will do the budget. So that would be, in a sense, how you're controlling the budget as a homeowner.
Someone asked, what are the board positions?
So it'd be typically a president, and when we do the board roles, it's really just electing 3 people, and within those 3 people, they determine who's going to be what. It's not really running for a specific role, but president, the vice president is typically secretary as well, and then treasurer.
Liz has a question in the room.
It's just a comment that at the annual meeting, we did throw it out, we got everybody.
Yeah.
That's all we didn't vote, put out by the board, and we just, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It was like more of a formality.
Right.
I just want to clear it up that it was sometimes, you know, didn't notice that when I was in annual that we were going to vote on it.
Okay.
But we can't really, we voted to approve the budget.
Right.
Set up by the board.
So there would have been, like, if anybody has issues with the budget, let us know, kind of situation.
Right. Yeah, you would say, well, I'm there.
Right. Not necessarily with bylaws, say, by any means.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Right.
That didn't happen. I think it happened.
Okay. Okay. So Lenny's saying that, you know, there was points in time that the board did say, you know, is anybody having issues with the budget, essentially, at the meetings. It's not in our bylaws to do that, but it was more of a formality than anything.
And that's very usual for associations to have it set up that way, because that's essentially what the purpose of the board of directors is to run the community on behalf of all of the neighbors.
Right.
So that is very typical to see, in my opinion.
Anything else, or should we go ahead and do the votes? Let's go ahead and do votes. So Amanda is gonna go through and do the Zoom votes.
Yes, so
go ahead and talk to
yeah, so those of you on Zoom, I see your hand raised. Desiree, give me a second. Those of you that are on Zoom, I think it would make most sense and be the most streamlined if you guys used the chat option and chatted to me privately what your choices are for the board of directors. That way we can also record it in the association's records as well. The hand raising option just might get confusing if you raise your hand and, can't put it down, or, I'm not sure who you're raising your hand for. So those of you on Zoom, please utilize the chat option to cast your votes and make sure it's chatting to GCM privately, Georgia Community privately. If you have any issues or questions, I am monitoring Sarah's email as well. So if you shoot a quick email to Sarah, if you have any issues, I will be watching that to make sure that nobody has any issues. How many board positions are there?
3.
There's 3 board positions. Okay. Someone asked to list who's running for the board one more time. So we have Pat Davis, Katie Egan, Peter Jazeranak, Michael Hurd, and James Martin. Thank you, ma'am.
I put it in the chat to everyone.
That's a good idea. Okay. And those on Zoom, I'm going to type in the names of the people running one more time, just in case.
Does Desiree have a question? Or
she raised her hand. Desiree, I promise you I'll get to you there. Just chatted to everyone, the nominees again, in case you'd like to see how they are spelled. Desiree, can you chat your question to me? I think that might be easier. Okay. I'm going to wait for the chats to come in, and then as soon as everyone is done chatting, then we're going to go through one by one and mark down, because right now the chat's like blowing up. So I'm going to wait for everyone to finish chatting, and then I'm going to go through and count them one by one. So it'll be a few minutes. Yeah, that's what I was, yeah. All right. Got lots of votes on chat. Thank you all. Let's see. Desiree, I see your question. Hang on a second. I'm scrolling up to find it in our chat. Okay. Let's see here. has everyone on the board voted? Yeah, because okay. All right, so there's still quite a few Zoom voting coming in. All right, so guys, we have a question that came across on Zoom.
Hey guys. Question came across on Zoom a little bit late.
Yeah, there's a question that came across on Zoom, and it's a question for Pat and Katie, who are on Zoom. So, Pat and Katie, I'm going to unmute both of you and then ask you guys that question. So give me just a moment here, and then I'll read it out to everybody. Okay, so Pat and Katie, I asked both to unmute. So here's the question that came in. Someone had a question for both of you. It says, since I have questions for both Pat Davis and Katie Egan, since they both appeared in magistrate court with Kathy Scott to support her false accusations against me. In particular, do they share Kathy's belief that our current HOA lawyer, Lisa First, has acted in bad faith while working with the 2019 board?
This is Pat Davis, and as Megan already commented, that the court record is public information, and there's a copy of it there on the table. You're free to read what it is, but that was an isolated, in my opinion, it's done and over, and I will not speak to that because I think it's divisive.
For my part, in terms of my answer, this is Katie Egan. Kathy Scott is my next door neighbor. And she asked me to come in and relate to the courts what I remembered from that date long ago. I have not particularly followed the ins and outs of paperwork that I know Kathy has been following. But she asked me to come and say what I know, and I went to say what I know. I was a witness because she asked me to be. Other than that, I was not in any way involved in the lawsuit. And I would certainly encourage Desiree that if she felt I said anything that was incorrect, I'd be happy to discuss it with her. But I just related that I did recall that it was a surprise to my family and me that the property was sold, and that we did sign the, we're not involved in any kind of vote, and then that we did sign the petition that circulated within, about 6 months or so, as I recall. I'm not even sure about, the petition saying, we didn't approve this, that went around the neighborhood. That's all I was asked to do, and that's all I did. And I'd be happy to always stand up and tell my truth whenever it's asked of me. But beyond that, again, I was merely a witness.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Katie and Pat, for answering that. Okay. So we've got quite a few Zoom chats here that I'm going to be tallying. So give me a couple of minutes and I'm going to go through and tally all of these here with Sarah so we can get some numbers for you guys. These are the notes. Okay. All right. I'd like to wait. Yeah. Let me start at the very first.
What else am I doing?
Start at the very first one. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to start in Zoom. If you want to call them out and just scroll down, I'll tally them. That way we have all eyes on it. So starting that one is the very first one I saw. Right there. Yeah, that's right.
She only voted once. Should have voted for other people besides.
Yeah. Up 2 and 3, so you don't have to rush through.
Michael Hurd, Pat Davis, Katie Egan.
usually use two fingers and scroll up or scroll
That's
down.
what I was doing. Just make
Oh,
sure.
oh, we go across.
And then just, I mean,
Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah.
all right. Yeah.
Yep, got that. Got the second one. Okay. Yep.
Michael.
It's crazy.
Katie.
Farm area.
Michael.
It's like 2 miles.
Michael.
Yeah, okay. But it's not still right. And but then I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, he's talking about what's going on. It's not like he is. We're not checking the check. Built a school.
The audio and video were gone on Zoom.
I think they muted it so we couldn't hear them tallying votes, if I had to guess.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I told them in chat, that we could hear them tallying the votes.
Hey guys on Zoom. So we are tallying these votes, and there's multiple people that have voted twice. Multiple people that are voting that do not have a first and last name that we have registered. People are also changing their votes. So we're going to start it one more time for the second time. We're going to start the voting again here at 7:52. I'm going to type it in the chat as well. Please retype the 3 people that you would like to vote for on Zoom, and we're going to start it at 7:52 and go down and recast and recount all of the votes. 1 vote per household, please.
Tutelage.
right, guys, sorry we had you on mute for so long. We were recounting and making sure that everybody only voted one time, so we wanted to take our time and make sure it was accurate and proper. So we're gonna reconvene the room and then announce the results from the in-person plus the Zoom. So give us just a second.
And if you voted before our comments, we did catch that. We were clocking from the time at 7:52. So rest assured that if it was beforehand, it was commented. If it was from 7:52, it was counted.
Yeah. Hey, if whoever's left to go on a reconvene, we got the final count. Whoever's left on Zoom. I think we finally got the final count.
Yep.
Hey guys. So we got the final count, so we're gonna go ahead and announce, and whoever's left on Zoom can listen. So the 3 board members for next year are gonna be Peter Jazinak, Michael Hurd, and Jimmy Martin.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, and that's it. Meeting's adjourned.
8:10. Thank you all. If you guys have any questions on Zoom, please email Sarah. I put her email in the chat. I'm going to put it again so it's new and fresh. You can also email, it's easier, just support@gcmmgt.com. Thank you guys all for attending. Have a good night. Same chat, that's what I wanted.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. That's good to know because Tara told me that Bear Creek was downloaded and it wasn't. So now I know that you have to manually select that.
So it's here, so it's in there. And I think, so when you open the folder, it's under meeting same chat. And it'll pull up the chat.
And then it will automatically download. You may want to do go ahead and fix it out so it downloads recording because you have 30 minutes.
Really? Oh my goodness. Wow. All right, so I'm
yeah, and then that's when it will prompt you.